It's been years since Jimi Hendrix last walked the earth, but suddenly his name is everywhere again. Social media, headlines, music, blogs, everyone's talking. Why the sudden obsession? What just happened to bring him roaring back into the spotlight? Stick around, because what's unfolding now might just change how you see him forever. Jimi Hendrix was never just a guitarist. He was a cultural force. From the moment he lit his guitar on fire at Monterey, to his iconic performance of the national anthem at Woodstock, Hendrix became a symbol of sound, freedom, and rebellion. Decades after his passing, his music still pulses through playlists, documentaries, and guitar solos around the world. But in 2025, that admiration has evolved into something even more powerful. Introducing the 2025 Experience Rix Tour, a full-scale tribute that's bringing Hendrix back into the spotlight, louder and prouder than ever. Spanning 27 electrifying dates across North America, the tour runs from March 11th in Cincinnati to April 12th in Atlanta. At every stop, fans are treated to a powerhouse lineup of artists reimagining Hendrix's classics with reverence and bold creativity. Big names like Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Zakk Wylde, Eric Johnson, Devon Allman, Samantha Fish, Christone Kingfish Ingram have each lent their unique sound to timeless tracks like Purple Haze, Little Wing, and Voodoo Child. One of the most exciting newcomers to the stage this year is Marcus King, making his Experience Rix debut. King's raw emotional vocals and explosive guitar work have wowed audiences, seamlessly bridging generations. But these artists aren't just covering songs. They're honoring the man who laid the groundwork for their own musical journeys. The tour reached its emotional peak on April 12th at Atlanta's legendary Fox Theater. That night, blues icon Buddy Guitar, very man who once inspired Hendrix, stepped out of retirement for one final tribute. It was a moment that transcended time, closing the tour with the same fiery spirit that defined Hendrix's legacy. Buddy Guy's surprise appearance stunned fans, adding a historic weight to the tour's closing night. For many, it was a once-in-a-lifetime moment, a symbolic passing of the torch between generations. As Buddy poured soul into every note, it became instantly clear why Rix had revered him so deeply. What truly sets the 2025 Experience Rix Tour apart is its electric church atmosphere, a phrase Rix himself once used to describe his vision of music as a spiritual, transformative force. Each concert is more than just a performance. It's a sacred experience, blending deep album cuts with fan-favorite anthems, delivered with an intensity that makes the crowd feel like they're part of something holy. Spontaneous collaborations spark magic on stage, and moments like Zakk Wylde leaping into the crowd during Purple Haze have already become legend. More than a concert, the tour is a celebration of influence, emotion, and eternal sound. It's living proof that while Rix may be gone, his music still evolves, still speaks, still inspires. For those lucky enough to witness it, this tour doesn't just remember Rix, it brings him back to life. But beyond the thunder of the stage, something even more extraordinary is turning heads. The reappearance of a long-lost recording that's shaking the music world. Let's talk about Black Gold. In 2025, alongside the tour's renewed focus has turned toward one of the most mysterious and coveted pieces of music history, the legendary Black Gold tapes. These rare recordings, some dating back to a private 1968 demo session, have recently resurfaced, setting collector circles and music communities ablaze with excitement. Among the most shocking discoveries are previously unheard demo versions of classics like Stone Free and Little Miss Lover, raw, stripped back, and emotionally charged. These sessions offer a glimpse into Rix's evolving sound in its purest form. Some of these demos fetched up to £200,000 at auction, underscoring their rarity and cultural value. According to The Guardian, these recordings reveal an unfiltered look at Rix's creative process, his shifting rhythms, evolving lyrics, and subtle tonal experiments. But the crown jewel of this rediscovery is the Black Gold project itself, an unfinished song cycle that Rix began crafting in early 1970. intended as a deeply personal age-e conceptual album, possibly his fifth studio release. Black Gold was unlike anything he'd attempted before. It's been described by scholars and Hendrix historians as the holy grail of his catalog. For decades, Black Gold existed only in mythides, content known only through passing references in interviews and scattered documents. Unlike his more commercial records, this project aimed to fuse narrative storytelling with intimate experimental compositions, signaling a bold new direction for Rick's thought lost for years. The tapes are now confirmed to exist and are currently held by Rick's stepsister Janie, who oversees the Rick's estate. Though she has long guarded the material, rising interest from collectors, historians, and fans has brought Black Gold back into the spotlight. Conversations around a possible release are gaining momentum, fueling fresh speculation and excitement. The mystique of Black Gold is only deepened by its context crafted during 1970, a year of reinvention and turbulence for Rick's. It was a time when he was searching for something new, something deeper. These recordings, if released, may not just add to his legacy, they could reshape how we understand his final creative chapter. During this late phase of his life, Jimi Hendrix was moving beyond the image of a rock god. He was diving deeper into spiritual and artistic exploration, redefining not just his music, but himself. This was also a time when he sought greater control over his creative direction and financial future, pushing to own more of what he created, while the world waits with bated breath for the long-lost Black Gold tapes to finally be released. It's worth stepping back to remember how even fellow icons like the Beatles and Bob Dylan once tried to pay tribute to the golden legacy of Jimi Hendrix. Sometimes, history waits in silence until the right moment brings it roaring back. That moment came with the long-awaited release of Live at the Hollywood Bowl, August 18, 1967. For decades, its recording sat unheard, an artifact frozen in time. It captured a pivotal night when a young bird, relatively unknown, Rick's took the stage not as a headliner, but as an opening act for the Mamas and the Papas. And yet, what he delivered that night was nothing short of electric. Released in 2023, the live album reveals Rick's at a tipping point, caught between obscurity and legend. It's not just the rarity of the performance that makes it remarkable. It's the raw magnetic energy. The setlist features unreleased covers of the Beatles and Bob Dylan, offering a rare glimpse into Rick's experimental side. His take on Dylan's lyrics crackles with emotion. His reinterpretation of Beatles tunes pulses with the kind of fearless originality only Rick's could channel. Critics have called the album the sound of the future, fighting to be heard. It doesn't just capture a performance, it captures a moment in cultural history. Rick's was still breaking through, but his guitar work already shimmered with innovation, defiance, and vision. You can hear him pushing the boundaries in real time-bending notes, genres, and expectations alike. Part of the excitement around this release stems from its connection to other rediscovered Rick's milestones. Just months before that Hollywood Bowl set, he had stunned the world at the Monterey Pop Festival by setting his guitar on fire. A now legendary, moment that marked his arrival on the world stage. That incendiary act, inspired by an offhand comment from a journalist, wasn't just a spectacle, became an immortal symbol of his fearless devotion to music and performance. The very guitar he burned, blackened by flame and myth, was later sold for £280,000. A tangible reminder of the moment Rick's transformed into a legend. What this newly unearthed album also reveals is the true breadth of Rick's talent. Far from being a one-note guitar hero, he was an artist with an expansive range, deeply influenced by the sounds and legends around him. His covers of Dylan and the Beatles weren't just respectful nods, they were transformative acts. Rick's filtered their genius through his own fiery lens, reshaping their work with emotional depth and technical brilliance. These renditions underscore why he was seen as a revolutionary force. Even before superstardom fully took hold, the rediscovery of the Live at the Hollywood Bowl performance has also reignited interest in other archival Hendrix recordings. Releases like Live in Maui continue to demonstrate his unmatched gift for improvisation, his ability to create, evolve, and communicate in the moment. These live sessions feel raw and unfiltered, wildly unpredictable, and deeply intimate. They stand in contrast to his more polished studio work, yet are no less masterful. Even now, decades after his passing, Rix continues to redefine what live music can be. With every unearthed tape, every spontaneous solo, every imperfect but powerful note, fans are reminded of the unmatched fire he brought to the stage. Yes, his legacy has been kept alive through rare recordings and unforgettable tribute tours, but now something deeper is stirring, something that could change how the world remembers him forever. Here's why. In the mid-1960s, Jimi Hendrix did something few dared to do. He embraced the future. At a time when most guitarists avoided emerging technology like the Vox wah-wah, pedal dismissing it as a gimmick, Rix saw something different. Pedal, designed to mimic the human voice, was a tool of expression, not a toy. Rix plugged in, leaned into its sweeping tones, and transformed it into something transcendent. His guitar didn't just play, it howled, cried, whispered, and roared. He didn't just use the pedal, he gave it purpose, making it a defining element of the psychedelic rock, soft. And now, decades later, that same bold spirit of experimentation is being used to frame a modern artistic dilemma. A recent Financial Times article drew a compelling parallel between Rix's fearless adoption of the wah-wah pedal and today's cultural conversation around generative AI. Just as the wah-wah was once misunderstood and dismissed, so too is AI, today greeted by many with skepticism, fear, hesitation. But Rix's story serves as a reminder. New tools don't diminish creativity, they amplify it. The wah-wah pedal didn't make Rix great. It was Rix's vision, his daring, his emotion that made the pedal legendary. He used technology to extend his voice, not replace it. This is the heart of the comparison. AI, like the wah-wah, isn't meant to be the artist, it's meant to empower the artist. In the right hands, it becomes an extension of imagination. For those willing to explore, it can unlock entirely new forms of creative expression. Rix challenged convention, embraced innovation, and let technology elevate, not define his artistry. That mindset has never been more relevant as AI becomes an increasingly prominent force in music, writing, art, and film. The question isn't if it will change the creative landscape, it's how artists choose to engage with it. Much like Rix, today's boldest creators aren't waiting for permission. They're experimenting, pushing boundaries, and discovering new ways to communicate. The wah-wah pedal didn't just change the sound of rock, it changed the idea of what rock could be. It changed what a guitar could be, and in that same spirit, AI may change what storytelling, composing, or designing can become. Jimi Hendrix never followed trends, he created them. His legacy is a powerful reminder that innovation belongs to the bold, to the curious, to those who explore uncharted territory. Just like the wah-wah pedal once sounded like noise to many, AI might seem artificial until someone like Rix comes along and makes it sing. As the world rediscovers hidden and fascinating aspects of Rix's life, this renewed spotlight has also brought something else to the surface: myths, rumors, and half-truths. Let's explore some of the most persistent legends and the surprising truths behind them. The myth of the Red House. In 2024, a striking Victorian-style home in San Francisco hit the market for $3.2 million. Painted a deep, vibrant red, the property quickly captured public attention when it was dubbed the Jimi Hendrix Red House. Fans and media outlets ran with the story, believing this to be a former residence of the legendary guitarist. An assumption largely fueled by the home's color and its perceived connection to Rix's iconic blues track. Red House. But as interest grew, historians stepped in to set the record straight. Jimi Hendrix ever lived there. Despite the property's long-standing local reputation as a Rix landmark and its frequent inclusion on fan tours and tribute blogs, there is no credible evidence or documentation confirming that Rix ever called the house home. The myth, it turns out, is more a product of community lore and wishful thinking than fact. This isn't unusual. With cultural icons like Rix, emotional resonance often blurs with historical accuracy. Fans and communities sometimes attach legends to places, objects, or anecdotes that feel symbolically connected even if they aren't grounded in reality. In the case of the Red House, the link appears to be more poetic than factual, a coincidence elevated by decades of repetition. Still, such stories carry weight. The Hendrix estate takes them seriously. Operated by Experience Rix LLC and led by his stepsister, Jimi Hendrix, the estate remains committed to protecting the integrity of Frix's legacy. Through meticulous curation, the estate oversees all official releases, licensing, and tribute projects, ensuring that Jimi's story is told with accuracy and respect. From restoring archival performances to managing tribute tours like the 2025 Experience Rix Tour, every initiative undergoes careful oversight. While myths like the Red House may continue to circulate, the estate works to separate folklore from fact, preserving the truth without erasing the magic. A legal battle over the experience. But beyond myths and tributes, a new legal drama has recently brought Jimi Hendrix's name back into headlines, this time in a high-stakes courtroom battle with implications for his legacy and collaborators. In 2025, the estates of Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, the original bassist and drummer of the Jimi Hendrix Experience, filed a lawsuit against Sony Music Entertainment in a London court. Their claim that Sony and associated parties have continued to profit from Frix's music, particularly live and archival recordings, without fairly compensating the estates of the band's founding members. At the heart of the case is a demand for long overdue royalties or revenue, allegedly generated over decades from global releases, licensing deals, and streaming platforms. The lawsuit argues that while Jimi Hendrix's name and image remain at the forefront, the foundational contributions of Redding and Mitchell have been overlooked, both financially and historically. The case has stirred fresh debate over how artistic legacies are managed and who gets credit or compensation when the spotlight shines again decades later. For fans, it's a reminder that the story of Rix is also the story of those who played beside him, night after night, in smoky clubs and stadiums around the world. As the court proceedings unfold, many are watching not just for legal outcomes, but for what this means in the broader conversation about fairness, recognition, and the value of collaboration in music history. According to The Guardian and several other media outlets, the estates of Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell argue that the contracts signed decades ago failed to anticipate the long-term and evolving value of Jimi Hendrix's recordings. They claim that these outdated agreements don't account for the scale of revenue generated by the constant reissuing, licensing, and especially the digital streaming of Frix's material. In today's music economy, the lawsuit targets Sony Music Entertainment's control over Frix's catalog, specifically recordings that have been released or re-released in collaboration with Experience Hendrix LLC, the family-run entity overseeing Frix's estate. The estates of Redding and Mitchell argue that, despite their crucial roles in shaping iconic tracks like Purple Haze and Hey Joe, neither they nor their families have received fair royalty payments from these modern reissues. Central to their case is the belief that past contracts were signed under vastly different industry conditions, long before anyone could imagine the digital age or the enduring commercial life of legacy artists. Their legal team is challenging not only the fairness of past deals but also their validity, suggesting they were made without full awareness of future earnings potential. Sony and Experience Hendrix LLC have responded with a counterclaim, maintaining that both estates legally relinquished any further rights to compensation many years ago. The court will now decide whether those old agreements still hold up in an age of streaming, deluxe reissues, and AI-powered remastering. A trial is set for late 2025 and the stakes are high. The outcome could set a legal precedent on how legacy artists and their bandmates are compensated for posthumous releases and ongoing profits generated by their contributions. If the court sides with Redding and Mitchell's estates, it could open the door for other musicians and their families to revisit and renegotiate long-standing contracts that no longer reflect the realities of modern music distribution. But amid legal battles, myths, and rediscoveries, one truth remains. Jimi Hendrix is loved just as deeply now as he was decades ago, a legacy that still inspires. Rick's music continues to echo across generations, fueling creativity, bending genres, and pushing boundaries just as he did in his own time. More than 50 years after his groundbreaking debut, his influence remains vividly present in the work of today's most exciting and forward-thinking guitarists. Once considered radical, his techniques have become foundational for artists reimagining what the guitar and music itself can express. Publications like Guitar World have spotlighted a new wave of players who are carrying his spirit into the present. Seattle-born rocker Aaron Jones, for example, blends elements of blues, grunge, and hip-hop in a sound that's raw, emotional, and politically charged. He credits Rick's fearless distortion and unapologetic expression as core to his own approach, saying that Rick spoke truth through his tone. Another standout is Brazilian guitarist Matias Assato, whose cinematic tone and expressive playing often incorporate Rick-style chordal voicings and phrasing. Sato's blend of jazz, soul, and ambient textures brings a modern softness to the fire Rick ignited decades ago, showing how the emotional depth of Rick's playing continues to inspire technique and storytelling alike. From bedroom producers to festival headliners, from jazz fusionists to metal shredders, artists across the globe cite Rick's not just as a guitar legend, but as a language they've learned to speak in their own voices. Matias Assato's use of inverted chords and melodic phrasing captures the emotional depth Rick was known for, but with a sleek contemporary edge that's taken social media by storm. Then there's Chris Kingfish Ingram, the blues prodigy from Mississippi. His blistering solos and deep connection to the roots of blues music recall Rick's unmistakable tone and intensity. But Ingram isn't mimicking his channeling. His playing explores themes of identity, struggle, and cultural heritage, delivered with a stage presence that radiates power and soul. The electricity is familiar, but the voice is uniquely his. Melanie Faye, another breakout name, blends soul, R&B, and alt-track into guitar work that feels both effortless and intricate. She credits Rick's as a foundational influence for playing clean rhythmic and experimental echoes his ability to blur the lines between rhythm and lead guitar, creating a seamless musical dialogue within a single performance. Ollie Venable, a rising force in the modern rock scene, draws directly from Rick's firebrand energy. Her live shows explode with fearless expression, defying expectations in a space that has long been mal-dominated. Like Rick's, she doesn't just play the guitar, she commands it. What connects all of these artists isn't imitation, it's innovation. They aren't looking backward, they're moving forward, standing on the foundation Rick laid and using it to carve out entirely new sonic paths. Whether through fuzz-drenched solos, ethereal clean tones, or bold, genre-bending songwriting, they prove that Jimi Hendrix's legacy is not a relic, it's a living, breathing force still shaping the future of music. That legacy is rooted, in part, in the ongoing relevance of his debut album, Are You Experienced? In a recent retrospective, Pitchfork described it as a landmark that mapped the future of rock, a fusion of blues, psychedelia, and countercultural defiance that blew open the possibilities of what guitar music could be. It didn't just raise the bar, it changed the game. Rick's music was never just about virtuosity. It was about freedom, resistance, transformation. That ethos still echoes today in every wild solo. Every unconventional chord change, every fearless young musician daring to defy expectations. Jimi Hendrix doesn't live only in history books or old vinyl sleeves. He lives in the sound of the present and the pulse of what's coming next. How does Jimi Hendrix still inspire you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us how his music continues to move you today.